Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Women in Retail Talks. Today, I sit down with Rosie O'Neill, co-founder of Sugarfina. Rosie, thank you so much for joining me today.
So glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. So, with a brand that needs no introduction, Sugarfina, of course, is, as we were just saying, one of my favorites. I know it's a favorite around the world. Can you tell us a little bit about the backstory of Sugarfina?
Sugarfina is a candy store for grown-ups, and it's really tied up in the love story of myself and my co-founder. So it's a very sweet story. He took me to go see Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory on our third date. It was one of my favorite movies as a little kid, so very, very cute date idea. And after we saw the movie, we just got into this kind of brainstorm about why doesn't candy feel magical like that anymore? Where did the magic go? Why is it all for kids? Why has it become, really like a commodity and something you just shovel out of a bin into a plastic bag? And what would a candy store for grown-ups look like? And that was kind of the spark of the idea. We kind of had it as a back burner, hobby project thing that we would talk about on our dates for, the first couple years of our relationship. And then after a couple years, we decided to officially quit our jobs and go into business together. And it's been a roller coaster ride ever since, but very fun.
Oh, that's fantastic. I mean, I'm not sure I find, no pun intended, many sweeter backstories than that. And that's amazing. So, over the course of the last couple of years, Sugarfina has seen exponential growth. And what do you feel is one of the things that is really attributed to that?
One of the things about our business is that we're a gift giving company. And that was something that we didn't realize right away when we launched the brand. We launched the brand thinking that we were selling candy and that people were essentially just going to buy different flavors of candy in different amounts. And what we found really quickly was that people were buying Sugarfina as gifts and sending them to other people. And actually, about 2/3 of our sales today come from people who are giving Sugarfina as gifts. So that was a big light bulb moment for us because it really changed the way that we created product, how we spoke to customers, how we did our marketing. And what's wonderful about gift giving is it has this viral effect. So if you give Sugarfina as a gift to someone and they learn about the brand for the first time that way, hopefully they have a wonderful experience and they love it, then they want to share that experience with someone else. So we were able to really quickly grow without a lot of marketing spend just by kind of tapping into this nature of how people gift, making the whole experience from kind of start to finish very emotional and beautiful and special, and then leveraging people's natural desire to give and to share sweet things with their friends and family.
Of course, you hit on that keynote of virality, I guess is one of the ways that we put it, but how imagery has really affected brands in retail over the past couple of years as well.
Mhm.
And in your storefronts, I know you have a couple of installations that really entice them. We met at a conference a little bit ago. We had this great presentation talking about some of the displays. Do you mind talking about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a small brand on a startup. You don't have a ton of money. Obviously, I walk into some of these gorgeous stores, like Hermes and Chanel, and their stores are just incredibly beautiful, but also very expensive. So we had to think through how do we create that wow moment with the budget that we have, which was very small. So we did things like we created these really beautiful white paper flowers and created a backdrop on our boutique wall that just had the Sugarfina logo surrounded by these really pretty white paper flowers. And we found that people would just come up and want to take a photo in front of it because there was something about that that just made for a really beautiful picture. And then they would share it on Instagram. And that's how a lot of people would, discover the brand and say, oh, where are you? Where are those flowers? I want to go take a photo in front of that too. So little details and little moments like that, I think can be really powerful, and they're not something you have to spend a lot of money on. It just has to be something that captures people's attention, whether it's beautiful or maybe it's cute or maybe it's funny. It's those little touches, I think, that make a big difference. I always use the example of Dry Bar has these doormats when you walk into their salon that say nice shoes, and it's such a simple thing, but it's so cute, and you can't help but like take a picture and post that because it makes for a great social post. So those little things, I think, can make a big difference, especially when you're a young brand who doesn't have a lot of money to invest in really elaborate storefronts.
Absolutely. I love that. I have to get myself to a dry bar and bring Sugarfino with me. That's awesome. So, my next question, as we're shifting gears a little bit and diving a little bit more into the executive leadership and advice, um, is there a piece of advice that you feel is the best you've ever received, whether it be in your professional field or personal?
I think the best piece of advice is it relates to how you think about your customers and how you approach marketing. A lot of times, people will approach it and say, "This is the action that I want this person to do. I want them to see this thing, and I want them to behave this way." And something that was a really big shift for me, I had a boss from my past role when I was working on Barbie who said, "It's not about that. How do you want to make them feel? What's the emotion that you want to
Mm.
get out of this?" And then any action is kind of a byproduct of that. But when you really lead with emotion and think through that part of it first, it makes your message that much more authentic. So, one example of this, when we ship our online shipments to customers, we include a handwritten note in every box, not because that gets them to do something. We're not like writing a note that says, "Hey, come back and spend $20 and get 50% off." We're writing a note because we want to make people feel like they're special, like someone at Sugarfina really took the time to care and put together this package just for them, wrote their name on a card and signed it personally. Those little touches are those things that kind of create this emotion that you can't buy that. You really have to be able to deliver that authentically. But I think when you take the time to do that, and brands who do put that personal, that emotional touch into it, it really creates customers for life. And I think it creates this feeling of, I'm not just transacting with you, but this is a brand that either feels like my friend or feels like someone I want to, get to know and have in my life. And it has a really positive long-term effect.
Absolutely. And as you're growing with your team and as Sugarfina starts to grow as well, can you tell us a little bit about your leadership style?
Well, I have gotten really good at hiring people who are smarter than me, and I think that's the big breakthrough that pretty much every entrepreneur that I know goes through. Because when you're starting a company and it's, just a handful of people, you really do have to do everything, and you have to be pretty good at a lot of different things. And so by the time your business starts to grow, you do know how to do a lot of things, and you can, but you're not going to grow if everything rests on you, that you're then becoming the bottleneck. So you have to get really good at bringing in people to the organization who actually can do it better than you can, which can be, a little bit of a crush to the ego sometimes. But once you get past that, you realize how powerful it is. And I am so proud to have a team of people who are just superstars. They do their jobs so much better than I could possibly imagine doing them myself. And I'm really lucky that I have, just this rock star team of people behind me. And my job then is to empower them and to set them up for success and to be there to support them, but to really let them run the show. And rather than me telling them what to do, I always tell them, I hired you because I want you to tell me what to do.
Of course. And I mean that's incredible. Of course, it's the team that really that puts it together and along with your leadership as well. Looking over the past couple of years, starting this business and probably previously beforehand, we like to say, do you have a favorite mistake? So in hindsight, as hindsight's always 2020, is there a moment that you kind of look back at that was a favorite mistake that it went really well? It turns out that it wasn't so hot, but something that you took a lesson from.
In the early days, we had a big problem with saying yes to too many things and kind of overcommitting ourselves without realizing it. So, one example is this was only about 2 months after we launched. We were contacted by Facebook, and Facebook was doing this program called Facebook Gifts, where you could instantly send a real physical gift in the mail to your friend with one click. And so they asked us to be part of the program. We were, of course, really excited and said yes. The program launches, it's like us, Apple, Starbucks, we're totally out of our league. Like we should not have been up there with those other huge brands. But one of the things we learned was, they came to us and said, "Hey, we want to do this promotion and we want to include you in this outreach. How many units can you ship in a day if we did this promotion?" And we were very naive and very type A and excited, and so we just threw out this number. We said 15,000. We can can ship 15,000 units in a day, even though we hadn't shipped more than 20 boxes in a day up until that point. So I just totally
Mhm.
pulled a number out of thin air. And, blessing and a curse, the promotion went really well. And not only did we surpass that 15,000 cap, we actually sold 18,000 units. But then it's like this moment of, oh my God, there's four of us and we have to fulfill 18,000 units in one day. How the heck do we do that? It was, we got it done. I'll spare you all the gory details, but pretty much called in every favor from every single person in our life that we knew, took over the entire house, to pack and ship all these orders.
Yeah.
Happy that we got it done, but I think it was a really important lesson in don't say yes too quickly. Really make sure you think through things and make sure that you have a plan and a strategy, because once you say yes, it's really hard to back out at that point. You don't want to disappoint people, but you want to underpromise and overdeliver, not the other way around.
Of course, I can't imagine with 18,000 units. That's amazing. So one of my last questions is if you could give a piece of advice to those thinking about or changing to pivot in their career, what would it be?
I had a really non-traditional path to entrepreneurship. I think sometimes people will, look out on a distance and say, "Oh, well, you're born an entrepreneur and you just do that your whole life." And it's really not the case. I know tons of people who, worked in the corporate world prior to starting a business. I personally, was at Mattel, working on the Barbie brand for 7 years before I started Sugarfina. So there's many paths, and I think the thing that I always tell people is you can choose many different paths, but the thing that you want to avoid is you want to avoid being comfortable. If you're comfortable and if you feel like you can do your job in your sleep, that is not a good place to be because it means you're not growing and you're not challenging yourself. Take the opportunities that feel a little bit scary because that's what's going to stretch you to grow and stretch you to kind of take yourself to that next level in your career.
Absolutely. And my last little rapid fire questions. Are you up for doing these? These are
Yeah,
either
sure.
or is perfect. So, are you a morning person or night owl?
Neither. Really good, like right around 11 a.m.
Perfect. Are coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Mimosas or margaritas?
Oh my gosh. Probably margaritas.
Yes, me too. And my very last question is, do you have a favorite piece of candy?
I have so many favorite pieces of candy. My favorite right now is our tequila grapefruit sours. They're made with Casamigos tequila, and they are just so, so, so delicious.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Put those with
Yeah,
some margaritas. I think that
they go
would be
well with
awesome.
margarita. Exactly.
Well, Rosie, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Great speaking with you.
Great.